Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Analytic Mind podcast. Today, I'm here with Jarrett Moore. Now, Jarrett has been connected to Enterprise DNA and myself for quite some time, and I thought it'd be great to get him on as one of our earlier episodes on the podcast, just to talk about a lot of the experience that he's had with Power BI. Dealing with an internal implementation of Power BI, but also with external stakeholders. And so, this isn't, I think the discussion today here is going to be really valuable for Power BI users, but also just any analytics initiatives that could be happening within organizations, just sort of seeing how it's done and how to effectively execute on sort of development tasks or deployment tasks around your analytics initiatives. So, Jarrett, why don't you just do a bit of an intro? Tell us a little bit about yourself, what your sort of experiences have been around your Power BI and data related work, and then we'll just take it from there.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Sam, for having me today. I guess I'm born and raised in just outside of Columbus, Ohio, and was raised there, and it was about a month after 9/11, packed up and moved to Florida, and I've been in Florida ever since. As far as Power BI goes, I was a member of a power users group for the software that we use for the company that I work for. I work for a restoration company. You have any kind of water, fire, mold damage to your house, we're the folks that come in and help clean that up for you. But we're also the contractor that helps put the house back together for you. So that's the kind of work that we do. And I was on a conference call on a power users group for that software. We help give feedback to the software company to help improve it. And it was January of 16 or 17, I want to say 2017, that one of the gentlemen on the call introduced us to this product called Power BI. And I was on the call with my IT manager, and we looked at each other in the eye, and he's like, "We got to do this." So that's how my journey started, and it's come a long way in the 3 to 4 years that I've been around.
Great. And so it's quite a unique industry, I would say, for Power BI development, right? To actually implement Power BI, you wouldn't ordinarily think of the sort of infrastructure space as being totally, a logical place where you do a whole lot of analytical work. But it seems like you've made quite an impact with Power BI. So what are some of the things that you've been, some of the initiatives you've been working on with Power BI, either internally, but also with other stakeholders?
Yeah. Well, when I first started, my boss kept me in my current, and I stayed in my current role with the company. I did like finance, just anything finance related. I did job management things for the company, and I kept up with that role. And he gave me 2 hours a day to help create some of these reports for Power BI with his content, and then I just brought the content to life. And it was probably no later than a month to 2 months, and he said, "You're doing this full time." So I started off building reports for my organization, and then it was probably 2 or 3 months in, my boss had a couple of other software users that use the same software that we do in his office for a meeting, and he pulled up some of the reports that I had built, and one of the gentlemen in the room, took out his checkbook and said, how much do I need to pay to have this? And he said, "Well, currently we're only doing it for, in-house. We're not building it for others right now." But that kind of led him to the idea that maybe we need to help build this for others as well. So from that point on, we created a sister company, and basically what I do for there, that's my full-time job now, is I build Power BI reports, not only for my organization, but I'm closing in on now around 40 users around the US and Canada.
Wow. So wow, you guys you actually created a new business unit around Power BI development for your own organization's partners, I would imagine.
Not necessarily partners, but other companies like ourselves that do the same work that are throughout the U.S. and Canada that use primarily the same software that we use, because there was conferences that we go to, and you get to know people in the industry, just like any other industry. You get to know the people that are in the industry, some other companies, and it's one of my roles at the company as well was creating reports for the CEO, the CFO, the COO, all those people. And what I had to do was dump the data to Excel, run these crazy macros. And, it took me, sometimes days to do some of these reports that he wanted done. And now with the power of Power BI, I can get those done, in no time. And then, it's, you don't even have to run the report each time. It's just, it's always there for you. It's always up to date.
It's amazing. So basically, your business has created a new business line around data analytics. You've created your own development agency, but to run concurrently to the sort of the building and infrastructure part of the business. That is actually quite unique, and I actually think is an amazing evolution of that probably a number of other businesses and other industries that are sort of ahead of the curve here. They could actually do something similar.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this is it's been a fun ride these 3 or 4 years, and we've definitely developed, I think, a pretty good business model, and our clients love what we do, and they can't wait to get more information than what they have. So I can't give them enough information.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, the reality is that you could, so many others could copy and paste what they're doing in their own systems and utilize them, or monetize them in many different ways, which is a super idea that hopefully some of the listeners are really having a deeper think about, once you're sort of hearing that it's possible.
Yeah, and it's some of the information that I'm providing them. They've had access to this data before, and they've it's not like it's earth shattering analytics. They've always had access to this type of data, but now they get it much faster. And this has helped companies. And I know within my organization, we had several printers in the office that I think they printed from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. Now those printers don't even run anymore. People are using the reports in Power BI. It's only, not only has it saved the company money, from printing, but it's also saved the employees time to where they don't have to run these reports, and they have more time to actually focus in on what really matters and bringing money into the organization.
Yeah, I mean, it's so great to have you on and to say these sort of things, because this is the sort of thing that I talk about a lot and have for years, just around the difference that Power BI can make. And you just mentioned one that I've never mentioned before, is the saving on printing. That can be a huge huge gain, amongst many others. When you add it all up, it's quite amazing, the difference that Power BI can make.
Yes, definitely.
So why don't we go into some specifics here around, like, what are some unique things that you've done? Obviously, you've done something very unique in creating a whole new business line. But what are some unique things you've done on the sort of development side to be successful in what you've done with external partners?
With Power BI, I've when I was first learning Power BI, I had taken I looked at a bunch of different content, and when I came across your content, that was when I knew that, this was the guy for me and the company that I wanted to be a part of, to take me on this journey of learning how to do Power BI. So I can't, and continue to thank you enough for the content that you provided, because I know how much it's meant to me and brought me to where I'm at today. So, without your type of content out there, I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at. And
that's great. Awesome. No, I appreciate it. So how have you used some of those ideas in what you've done? Has it been, have you created some unique things around, the models that you've developed, or, how have you been able to show the value to others, around the work that you've done? Is it the time saving? Is it just the visualization? Maybe just go a bit deeper into that.
Yeah, I think some of it is the time saving. A lot of it is these people haven't had access this quick to data, and within their organization, and it's mind blowing, and it's almost a little bit information overload for some of these folks at first. But I've definitely built some interesting models for each one of these companies, and a majority of them, rely on job management, and how can they improve the job time from start to finish, not only from a company perspective, but also on the customer end as well. It is like, why is it taking us this long to complete this task? And now they can see this information and visualize it a lot faster, and see also which team members are performing at a great level, and then who needs improvement. And this right here is great accountability for employees, because the information is right there, and the old adage, the numbers don't lie.
Right. So a lot of it has to do with just this additional data discovery that is made possible with the visualizations and reports that you've been able to build out, and really scale across many different other similar organizations.
Yep.
And so what how are you, just because I know there's probably a lot of consultants listening, what sort of model have you developed with this new sort of business line that you've created? Is it sort of an annuity business, or is it a upfront sort of consulting development type fee, or how have you structured things?
Well, how we've structured the business for the clients outside our organization is we actually have a consultant that we work with in the industry that has over 40 plus years experience in the restoration industry, and is probably one of the top consultants out there. And basically what we've taken is his behavior model and report model, and transformed that from the software to Power BI and data analytics. And he has been he's been one of my mentors in the restoration industry, but he's also the one that I get a lot of content ideas for. And then he asked me to bring those to life and make sense for the client. And he has his own business where he has numerous clients. And I know with the current situation that we're in and worldwide here with the whole COVID experience, is he used to fly out to everybody's location, once a quarter or so, and do these on site. But now he's working from his home, and this definitely, with what we've built in this business model, it's definitely helped him, not only research the company before he gets to talk to them on the phone, but it also helps him provide better solutions to his clients.
That's actually really unique as well. That's actually super interesting. So, and I think this is you could replicate something like this across any number of opportunities out there in any market. So you've actually partnered with a sort of subject matter expert and offered your solution in combination with what they are actually already doing. So they've almost enabled better distribution of your service by partnering.
Yes, yeah, we've definitely partnered up, and he does a lot of our sales for us. He brings a lot of new clients. Obviously, I think we have a majority of his, if not all of his clients that he consults with have our business model within Power BI, but it's also he's the one that helps promote this to other individuals that he knows as well, to try to bring new clients to us as well. And primarily we've been working with one software company that's in the industry, one of the largest, but there are a couple others out there that I've just recently cracked the surface on my end on how to build successful Power BI reporting and connecting to those databases. So now I think we're ready to take it to the next level here, because while the software we've been working with has numerous amounts of clients, but now we've opened it up to the opportunities are endless. It's the main way that we've been getting business is word of mouth, and certainly with what's going on right now, it's hard to get this in front of certain companies out there, because not everybody is thriving in this market. But I know a majority of companies that do our work have been just fine in this pandemic, because still things happen to your house. You're always going to have water, fire, mold damage to your house, and you need somebody to put it back together.
Yeah. Well, I just want to, I think, highlight this as the model that you've discovered and that has been working well. I think is a totally viable model in many different ways, because there's a lot of, I think, consultants out there or just connectors in specific markets or industries that maybe aren't as technically savvy as some sort of younger folks or those who are more aware of what the possibilities are with Power BI. And I think that creating those partnerships to increase your distribution a lot quicker is a really smart idea. It's a real win-win for both sides. And so I think that in itself is a really valuable idea for those tuning in, because I can see hundreds, maybe even thousands of opportunities that you could implement with Power BI as the implementation tool. One question I have following that is, how are you actually ultimately how are you implementing your service within a client? Are you doing it by basically just handing over the model that you develop and they use it within their online service? Or are you doing some sort of like Power BI embedded type, where you've actually built an embedded solution? How are you doing it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And before I get into that, one of the reasons why I think we've been successful with what we have is, I'm not your traditional computer programmer. I haven't always, my route to where I'm at today it's been a twisty road with lots of turns and different things to get where I'm at today within Power BI. So I'm not just some computer programmer that doesn't know the business. So not only can I develop the reports they want to see, but I've also I've been a part of the industry for almost 10 years now, and so I know how the industry works as well. So I think that helps with what we're doing and communicating with the clients and doing that. So that definitely helps with what we're doing there.
Cool. And then just to round off that, could you let us dive into like how you're actually implementing the solutions around sort of?
Yeah. Let me touch on that too. With how we're doing this is typically a majority of the clients that we get in the industry here. Majority of them don't even have IT on site. A lot of them subcontract IT. So basically what we do is once we get a client is we contact their IT department, and the head of my IT at my organization is the one who sets this up with the with those folks. And basically what he does is he gets everything set up, and typically what we'll have is a machine on site, or their IT department will build us a virtual server that I can remote into to get access to their data. And typically how that works is usually most of them have a VPN that I connect to, and then connect through an RDP to their server where their data is stored. And then I create the reports on there, and then I share them, within the organization, but they do not have access to the data models that I have built. That is a proprietary to us. So they don't have access to the actual physical Power BI model that I created, but they do have access to the reports. And to expand on that is we actually have a programmer that we know pretty well that built us a website. And within that website, for every new client that we get, each one of them has a log on to that website. And within that website, they have different levels of access, but in that website is where I guess you could say, embed the publish to web link for each one of those reports within that organization. But what happens with that, what we've been very successful with, is they do not see that web link. The users don't. So when they click on a certain report to access that report, it pops up a new web browser, but they do not see the web link, the embedded web link in there. So this has definitely helped us out, because before, anytime somebody had left the organization, if they had access to that link, I'd have to deactivate that and then create a whole other link. But what we found a way around that is through this website. So if somebody leaves the company for whatever reason, all we have to do is just deactivate them as a user, and then I don't have to go in there and recreate these links. But that's how we've been successful in getting our clients access to each one of those reports.
Wow, that is really cool. I'd love to just dive into that a little bit as well. That's fascinating. So so it's almost like you've built a data product where you've built a web application. It's a sort of a secure sign-on application, and then you're just embedding the Power BI reports into your application, but you're totally bypassing this Power BI embedded product that Microsoft keep marketing, but really doesn't make any sense. You sort of built a workaround to that by just using the sort of the publish to web functionality.
Yes, that's what we've done. Is we've definitely got around the whole Power BI embedded thing, and with this right here, it's a whole lot easier for them to get access to than because their data is sensitive, and you don't want to have folks access to that, especially once they've left your organization. So this is a secure site that we've built to where they have access to the reporting, and it works pretty smooth, and but they don't have access to that. They don't see the web link when they open up a new browser. So it's
that's really really creative. And I would imagine that this is something that is totally possible in so many different scenarios as well. So many this is just one perfect example of a brand new sort of data offering that you can create with Power BI. The other question I had was, so you've created sort of like a data product where a whole range of different organizations have logins, and then they specifically only see their own reports. So how do you, I presume there's a little bit of setup in the background here to make sure, 100% sure that, people aren't logging in and seeing someone else's reports, but then also you've got connections into different data sources and different locations and different servers how do you bring that all how are you bringing that all together? Like, from one is the data connection side, like how are you bringing those various different data connections from all over the place together? And then also how are you sort of building a secure web portal where, everyone's only seeing what their reports, or the reports that they should be seeing?
Well, within the website that we've created, each employee has part of the setup. When you set up an employee, is you give them access to. Usually, I have two different types of, sometimes three, of different data sets that certain members within the organization are privy to see. So, they can only, when they log in, they only have access to this report or that report. So they don't have access to everything. So I build, certain reports for different levels within the organization. I guess you could call it like what we kind of call it is a management data set. And then we also have like a production, who's producing the work. They don't need to see all the financial information, some of the things that the CEOs and the CFOs need to see within these companies. So that's first on how we structure the information, so that they can't they're not privy to all the information. It's just what the organization wants them to be able to see. And what was the second part of that question?
It was so you're connecting up to all of these different data sources. Like how are you managing that in a scalable way, so that the data is somehow feeding into your app? Because maybe you've got someone in one part of the country and someone in the other part of the country. How do you actually bring that all together?
Yeah, within each one of those companies, like I mentioned before, we either have a physical machine on site, or we have a virtual server that we connect to. And within each one of those, I connect through the gateway, through the Power BI gateway. And that's how I set up the schedule of refreshes. And, as we know right now, we're limited to, 8 refreshes a day, 8 scheduled refreshes a day. So what I do is I put each one of these companies and the reports on a 2-hour, basically like a 2-hour time clock throughout the day. And if they have multiple reports, it's a little bit trickier to get the in-between times, because you're only allowed to refresh on the hour or on the half hour. So when you schedule these refreshes, but typically, that's what we're providing our clients right now. A majority of them is the availability to have their data refreshed up to 8 times a day.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing, and just how you've, just from start to finish, really, how you've recognized Power BI as an opportunity, and then you've basically created this brand new data product within your existing business that you've been able to replicate and scale. Using Power BI as the core reporting tool is actually, that is quite phenomenal. And I think that for especially for the listeners is opens up a world of opportunity. I hope everyone, that my mind is sort of going at a million miles even now, just thinking, wow, this could be, think of anything. Think of any sort of unique reporting tool out there. A lot of industries, a lot of businesses have these. If you could build a report and then sort of create some way to productize that off the back of it, there's enormous opportunities out there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what. That's the great thing about Power BI. I mean, right now we're only touching the surface of basically the industry that we know. Right. I mean, there's endless opportunities out there. I mean, we could do this for doctors, for lawyers, for real estate agents. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It's all about figuring. Like one of our number one questions we ask clients is, what are you not getting, from your, either reporting or what's frustrating with what you're using right now that maybe with analytics could help you, run your business better? I mean, and, we can't answer that question, a majority of the time, but, who better than the client to actually give you, the answers that you need to help improve their business. So yeah, the opportunities are endless. And this Power BI is, and it's what they just had, their fifth year anniversary. So I think they've just started to scratch the surface of where this thing is going to go.
Well, I can't agree with you more there. I think I know what we're going to call it. We're going to call the podcast this particular episode. Something around imagine the possibilities for your own data products or something, because that's what I think I've got out of this conversation is sort of inspiration around what is actually possible, and the opportunities are endless. If you think about it, like how many unique pieces of software have been out there, legacy systems, but even new third-party systems. I mean, there's opportunities to bring a lot of these third-party systems together in a lot of cases, and then you could also specialize in very unique pieces of analysis, like customer churn or forecasting analysis or HR analysis. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. The opportunities for these sort of data products, and you can really effectively develop like a proprietary model across some sort of common data set. I mean, look, there's just no reason why you couldn't create something similar to what you've done, Jarrett. I mean, even though it is impressive what you've and you've been at it for a few years, but it definitely is not impossible to achieve, right?
No, it's not. And this is what I mean. We've just scratched the surface with our clients. I mean, obviously we'd have to have permission before we ever even think about doing this. But just think if we could take, within those companies that I have, we have companies that, that are probably 5 million a year and less. And then we have them all the way up to 40, 50 million plus a year. What if we could group those companies, into a basket, so to speak, and then provide data? Here is 10 companies that meet your same, financials, that you do. And then you could show a model of, okay, within these 10 organizations, here is the typical, whatever the key metrics that we're using to help implement each one of these businesses. A lot of them are the same key metrics. They'd be able to see how they compare not only to the industry, but to people that are actually doing the amount of work that they're doing each year. So I think that's the next part of this Power BI journey that we may touch upon, but it may be hard to get all those folks to be on the same page to want to share their data. And I totally understand that, but I also think that they'd probably want to see how they can compare to others and how others are doing in the industry.
Yeah, so sort of like benchmarking tools is what comes to mind when you talk about that. But even I think about there's a lot of businesses out there which like consumer businesses which sort of give consumer reporting, like what's being sold at supermarkets or what's being sold at retail. I mean, if you could get access to that data, there's no reason why you couldn't turn that into a data product. And build some sort of build some sort of application, log-on application, that enables that sort of data product. I mean, it's really interesting, really interesting. I'm sure I'll be thinking about this for some days yet. Just ways that you could apply, how you could facilitate these a lot easier. Because I think what you've done is, because of your understanding of what's possible with Power BI, especially on the back end, I think that's given you a real competitive advantage to then take things further and say, okay, look, we can actually build an application out of this. And I don't think everyone has that understanding around what is truly possible from the data connection side or the data transformation or just data acquisition side of things. So, I think that's obviously given you personally a huge head start there.
Yeah, I have a great team that I work with. Like I mentioned, I have the one guy that pretty much does the sales and the content. I have the IT guy that, behind the scenes knows how to make things work and do these, interesting connections on how we connect to people's data throughout the US and Canada. There are thousands and thousands of miles away from us, but yet, still provide them with what they want. So we definitely have a good team around us. So I think for anybody that's definitely listened to the podcast, that it's more than a one-man show. It definitely takes a team to get this going. And I think we have a great team, not only because but we all have different backgrounds, but we also have our key our key things that we're really great at, and that's where we build upon that within each other. So
right,
great teamwork.
That's great. Well, look, I think we've covered off some pretty interesting topics, to be honest. Is there any? I mean, before we round things off, is there any other insights that you've gathered around Power BI, or just maybe even internally deploying some of your Power BI reports? What's been successful for you in getting the most out of your efforts around your implementation?
Well, I think a lot of this, just to turn it back a little bit here, is everything that's going on with the Power BI challenges right now within Enterprise DNA. I learned so much from everybody else's model. That's typically what I wait for. Is I wait for all of the files to be uploaded to the site there, and then I go in and dissect, 2 or 3 of those. And I'm a very hands-on person, and that's where I pick up on little techniques, here and there on what others are doing. So that's where I've that's what's helped me, because mainly within my organization and what I do, I'm the only one who builds Power BI. So there's nobody that I can talk to to quote unquote run things by. But now I have this group of not only Enterprise DNA experts, but I also have the Enterprise DNA community that is providing all these great solutions during the challenges. And that's definitely opened my eyes to what I have right now, and maybe taking what I have right now and expanding that to the next level.
Right. No, that's great. So you're still the only developer within your organization, but you've obviously got a lot of consumers. Would that be right?
A lot of people who consume the reports.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Right. And so has it been easy to get them onto the online service and constantly viewing the reports? Has the uptake of that been relatively seamless?
It has been relatively. It's gone a lot smoother than I ever thought it would be. And we've definitely had some folks that were kind of hesitant at first to try to learn, in quote unquote their words, now I got to learn a whole other software. But once they get in there and start using these reports, they're like, wow, I don't know what I ever did without this. So as far as implementation, I don't think we've had a problem with any organization on once they see what they've seen, it's I don't think we could take it away from them right now. Right. If I told them that, hey, we're closing up shop, they would say, how much more do we have to pay you in order to keep this? It's that kind of response. And it's not only, the product that we build, but we also provide great customer support for them as well. But I don't think we can take it away from them right now.
Right. That's great. That's a great position to be in. to be in. It means the fact that they couldn't live without. They could. Maybe the next step is to increase your pricing. If they can't live without it, that's a sure sign you can probably charge more.
Yeah.
But cool. Okay. No, that's great. Now I'm glad you also brought out the challenges as well, because I honestly I don't think we've touched upon this. Maybe we did a little bit in the last episode, but honestly, I definitely feel that's one of our best initiatives we've ever created at Enterprise DNA, for sure. And it's really just built on this huge community asset that we've built up over time. And I think it would be also a good thing to mention, especially to all of our listeners, is that we're trying to expand the challenges. We want the Power BI challenges that we bring together to be much bigger than what it is today. And I really feel we can do that. I think that there's a real appetite for that. One of the big things that we need to do, though, is we need to get corporate sponsors. We want some businesses who are maybe trying to do like a proof of concept, for example, in Power BI, or just get some more buy-in around Power BI. Is why don't you come and sponsor a challenge? Put a little bit of prize money up. It doesn't have to be a huge amount, but just maybe a few $1,000s as prize money initially. I mean, this is how we're just getting going with this, but initially a few $1,000s, and then get some of the world's best experts around Power BI to submit into that particular challenge. And then obviously we can use that as prize money across a variety of different prizes. One for the winner, maybe second place, third place, maybe even some sub categories as well, because we want to promote everyone getting involved. But with a sponsorship, you're going to get some incredible solutions. And so anyone who's listening that wants to get on the get in early on these challenge sponsorships, I highly recommend it. And hopefully, Jarrett, you can second that the submissions that you would get, the quality of reports that you would get would blow your mind, basically.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. And I know that I've talked with a couple of the other Enterprise DNA experts that I'm the group that we're a part of here. And I know in one of these upcoming challenges, using some of the new features in the Analyst Hub, I think I think there's a group of 3 of us that want to attack one of these challenges and provide not only a solution, but also video and audio content as we're going through along this. So I think that to me, I think is where we go with this this next step in the challenges. In my view, is people want to see how others are creating this, and I know we get this question a lot on the forum. Is do you have a step-by-step video? And I'm just like, I wish we did, but it's just it'd be very hard to get a step-by-step video. But I think with if we break this a challenge down into thirds, and then have somebody tackle this and just sort of do brief audio and maybe some video content on the processes that we go through in order to come up with our solutions. I think that's where people are going to want to participate more. Because I think that's the hardest part right now, is for somebody out there that sees all these awesome submissions, that they're probably a little hesitant to provide a solution, because they know their solutions are probably not at the level as some of these other folks. But in the end, we've all been there before. We didn't all start out as quote unquote rock stars. You have to learn, you have to practice, and then you continually get better with implementing and getting into Power BI and these solutions. So I'm looking forward to tackling that in an upcoming challenge.
Yeah, look, I couldn't agree with you more. That is another big evolution for us, is just trying to extract all of this great insight and experience from those participating in the challenge, making sure that we can get that, make it more available to those who are part of our community, and really make more, build awareness around the abilities of everyone in the community as well. And so that's a huge thing that I myself personally am going to be working on. I'm working on it right now, and we'll be doing so for a while. Yeah, I think that's that's really how we take one of the big ways that enterprise DNA moves into moves up to another level. So. Okay, Jarrett. Well, I think we round off here. I mean, I think we've sort of been going for the time that I wanted to. And look, I think we've talked about some really valuable things today. I mean, you've really opened my own eyes about these data products, that possibilities, and I think that everyone's going to really love hearing about the opportunities here. And we can really spur a few listeners on to doing something similar themselves, and in a totally different industry and environment, I think we would be really happy. So I want to thank you a lot for being part of this today, and and also a big thank you for being part of our community and a huge voice in the expert group, etc. I think it's been great to connect over time, and also to learn a bit more about the specifics about what you've been doing recently, especially on this call. It's been great.
Yep, it's been a pleasure. Yep.
Cool. Okay, well, let's round it off. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Look forward to getting your feedback. Make sure to to subscribe to the podcast channel. Going to have plenty more content coming out soon, and lots of really interesting conversations just like this one. So it's going to be really valuable stuff all the time. So highly recommend jumping on board and getting your hands on these episodes as we release them. So thanks once again, Jarrett, and all the best.